Welcome to ENTP.Nurture, where we use MBTI to solve real world problems. This video is a very special video for me. Did you ever face a situation where you just felt stuck? You felt stuck in life where you can see this thing coming, right? You are in the situation, but it feels like you cannot do anything about it and you're just stuck, and then fear creeps up, and then you feel more stuck, then more fear creeps up, and then this downward spiral. If you are an EP like me, then you have organizing issues where you're just scared to organize. Like this video, I was scared to script this video because I didn't want to sit down and write. Who sit down and writes? I hate any sort of paperwork. That's me as an EP. But if you ask for an IJ, they would hate something like control. Like they feel they don't have enough control in the situation. They feel like anything might go just wrong. That's how IJs are. EJ, they try to push the tribe above and they just hope that the tribe pulls them, So their standard is, let me make all of you guys better than me so that I feel better. And an IP is an exact opposite, where they're like, let me just find who my identity is, but they have a tough time finding their tribe. They know who they are, but they have a tough time fitting in the tribe. And they're often lost. Okay, who am I? Where do I fit? And their entire life journey is about this. Finding their tribe, IP. So everyone feels stuck in different ways, in different flavors. Me as an EP, I hate paperwork. Oh my god, I don't like going to banks. I don't like any sort of law, any sort of observer stuff that I don't censorly have to read and understand. I hate it. Everything in fine print scares me. I don't want to deal with it. That's it. I don't want to deal with it. But recently, I had to deal with so much paperwork. I was scared to open the mail. And here's the worst part though. I know I was scared, but I don't know why I was scared. What do I do about it? And this is where I felt stuck. I felt stuck and fear crept into my heart. And as soon as fear crept into my heart, I felt more stuck. And once I felt more stuck, more fear crept into my heart and I felt more stuck. Downward spiral. In this video, we are going to explore the theory of everything and how can you take one problem that you're having right now where you're in a state where, oh my god, I have this problem, I just feel stuck, I don't know what to do. Take that, understand why it's coming, how everything is working, what is the root cause, and then solve it. And this is my theory of everything. Are you excited? This is going to go very deep compared to my normal videos. So let me just give you an intuition alert. I will try to make it as censor fun as possible, but this video is going very deep in the concept of existence itself. To understand the biggest picture, we are going to explore six concepts and string them together. These are different puzzle pieces where these 6 puzzle pieces fit in together harmoniously and you'll suddenly see the big picture, and that is my theory of everything. So the concept number 1, facets of ourselves. And what this means is what you're seeing out there is not real, okay? Whatever you're seeing is not real. It's just a projection of your soul. It is just a reflection of your ego. I remember one time from my house to my work, I usually go by my office bus and I every time sit in the same seat, okay? For the past year, I sat in the same seat looking outside for 1 whole year. And there were some days where I was sad and everything just looked very dull, pale, stuff like that. Some days I was very happy. The sky just looked bluer, the plants and flowers looked prettier, and it was such a beautiful day. But it was the same scenery. What changed? It is your perspective that changed in reality. Reality by itself has everything. It has all the happiest moments, it has all the saddest moments, the entire spectrum, right? And at any particular moment, we are resonating to a very specific frequency, vibration, or a reality where you're seeing a very, very specific thing. So if you're like tuning into a positive spectrum, you see like bluer skies, beautiful flowers, amazing people. But if you're like tuning into a negative spectrum, you just see nobody, everything is dull, gloomy, everything seems pointless, right? Same place, different perspective, different projection of your soul. And the most important aspect I want to share is everything that you just see is just a projection of your soul. It's just a reflection of your self. And most often what happens is that we go to the sad reflection, right? We see in the mirror, we see ourselves frowning, and we search in that reflection for happiness. But the problem is this: no matter how much you search that reflection, in your sad reflection, you will never find happiness. You're frowning at a mirror, the mirror is going to frown back at you. But here's the thing though: if you smile, if you look at the mirror and smile, the mirror has no choice but to smile back. The mirror can't go, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna like frown back at this guy. No, the mirror can't do that, right? The mirror has to smile back. And no matter how hard you try to search sadness in that reflection, you can't find it, because it is a projection of your soul. It is just a reflection of yourself. So the biggest takeaway of this concept number one, that is, we are all facets of itself. We are all facets of ourself, right? We are seeing ourselves in different ways. That's it. There is no me and other guy, nothing like that. But you know what this implies? This implies that you can change what you want to see. And because you're seeing different facets of yourself, of the same thing, you're seeing different sides, you have the power, you have the opportunity to see it, change it anytime you want. And that is the most powerful takeaway in concept number one, that we are all facets of ourselves, just reflections, projecting, soul reflecting. Concept number two, the illusion of time. Let's imagine a cube, okay? A blue cube, 6-sided blue cube. And at second 0, there is a blue cube. At second 0.1, you have the same blue cube. At second 0.2, there is a new blue cube. At second 0.3, you paint one side of the cube red. And at second 0.4, you have a cube of 5 sides blue and one side red, right? Now a normal human being would say, this cube has changed its side to red. But that's not what's happening. The second 0 cube is a new cube. The second 0.1 cube is a new cube. The second 0.2 is a new cube. The second 0.3, the one with the red cube, is a new cube. And they're all new cubes. Every moment that is happening right now, it is billions of times new. Every moment there is a new you. Billions of times you're just creating a new. It's just that we are choosing to continue our previous frame. Now let's take the analogy from before. A film reel. Just imagine a camera projector, right? You see a film reel. Now notice when you're looking at the movie, you might see the same background. But behind the scenes, there are 30 frames or more that is just going in succession. That's changing rapidly, right? Now, because you're seeing the same picture, does it mean it's the same frame? No, the frame keeps changing every moment. But you're seeing the same picture because the previous frame was similar or same to the next frame. And because it is continuous reel of the same frame, you're seeing the same picture. But the frames by itself is a new frame. Every moment, there is a new frame that is hitting that lens. Every moment. It is not the same frame that's hitting, it's a new frame that's hitting. So similarly, there is no idea of change. This change, concept of change doesn't exist. All we are doing is just we are creating a new reality which is more consistent to our previous one, right? It's like we're just shifting a lot of frames and we're just choosing it to be more consistent to our previous ones. Understanding this concept will help you realize this very key aspect of life, and that is there is nothing to change, right? Our goal is not to change something. Our goal is just to choose something that is just better. You are never going to change something in reality. You are only choosing something that is better. You don't have to change whatever you're feeling right now. You can choose something better. And this concept will come handy in future. Concept number 3, dualities. If you are a fan of Alan Watts, you would be very familiar with this concept. He explains it beautifully. What this means is we are living in a world of opposites. This experience that you're having is created because we are focusing on one side of the opposite. Let's take yin and yang, right? This experience is created because we are focusing on yin and we are ignoring the yang. We are focusing on white and we are ignoring the existence of black. So it seems like there's only white, but the thing is white cannot exist without black. Just like when you say in a wave, the crest cannot exist without trough. The moment you utter the word crest, it implies that there is a trough, because without a trough, crest cannot exist. Just like without foreground, the background cannot exist. You cannot see the background without foreground. The foreground needs to exist so that you can even observe or experience background, right? Just like in that movie frame, when you're sitting in the theater, there needs to be a background so that there is something that the movie is being projected onto. But without the background, this foreground cannot exist, right? So the existence of the background is essential, and what most people do is just they ignore one side of duality. If you are a member of OPS, this becomes a very, very, very crucial concept to understand, because all OPS is just a bundle of dualities. If you are an EP like me, that means you're attached to organizing, okay? If you are EP like me, you are attached to this concept or this notion of love. If you are EP like me, you are attached to this concept of gathering. But here's the thing though, when I utter the word gather, it implies that there is someone who needs to be there to organize. Just like when you utter the word white, it implies that there is black. When you utter the word gather, it implies that there is organize, right? Because without organizing, gathering cannot exist. They are both the same. They are both two sides of the same coin. They are the two sides of the same duality. If you are an EP, you are swinging towards gathering. If you are an IJ, you are swinging towards control. But notice, the problem is not in this duality itself. The problem is in the imbalance that this duality creates. That is where the problem arises. So the key takeaway in the law of duality, we have only one goal, is to realize that for this experience to exist, there needs to be a duality. There needs to be a separation. There needs to be an opposites of the same thing. You need to split the same thing into two different things. Just like you're splitting nothing to background and foreground, just like you're splitting the ocean into crest and trough, similarly you are splitting something into black and white. And it is only in splitting this is to balance our dualities. If you're introverted, be more extroverted. If you're a thinker, be more conscious of your feeling. If you're a feeler, be more conscious of your thoughts, right? Our goal here is to maintain a balance between duality. Notice the duality, notice which side you're swinging onto, and then try to get that into balance. The concept number 3, the law of duality, right? Moving on to the next concept, concept number 4. Remember the previous concept where I was talking about duality? Why is this attachment towards one side of duality occurs? It is because of love. This attachment that you're experiencing is a very, very, very conditional form of love. You just love gathering more than organizing. That's it. And this attachment, this love that you're experiencing, this love that you're giving to one side creates that void in the other side. This conditional form of love. So here's Bob, and this is a duality of organizing and gathering, right? Without gathering, organizing cannot exist. Without organizing, gathering wouldn't exist. They are two sides of the same coin. But why is this guy, me? Why am I more attached to gathering? It is because of love. I just love gathering more than organizing. So when this person is moving towards this side, it's automatically creating a void here in the organizing part. And when it creates the void in the organizing part, you're automatically creating a tidal wave. And what a tidal wave is, you're just swinging so much to one side of the duality, the other side of the duality comes to pay you a visit, and not in a good way, in a very, very bad way. So when you're like swinging to one side, you automatically create this void of the other side. It's not like the side is disappearing, the side is just piling up, right? It's just piling up, 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 and a huge tower is created, but you can't see this tower because like this guy, all your focus is here. But because you're here, there's a blind spot here, right? You cannot see it. So when that Jenga tower falls on you, right? This is a metaphor. When the tower of organizing, here man, you have to organize, the tower falls on you, boom, dead. That is where the big tidal wave occurs. That is why in psychology, most of the people hit midlife crisis approximately the age of 40, 35 to 40, because they are being swinging on one side so much that the other side just piled up, and it's like zoop, hit, fell on you, and boom, destroyed. So the problem that creates all the problems in the world is that we are always attached to a very, very specific side of duality. And attachment is what? Is a very, very conditional form of love. Attachment is a very, very conditional form of love. And this is the like problem of problems. So why is all the problems occurring? What is the problem of problems? It is that you are attached to one side of duality. We just don't know what. There are many, 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 many dualities in the world. We are just attached to one side of the duality, and we are putting a lot more energy, lot more time in that particular aspect, and not spending enough time with that aspect, and boom, tidal wave, it comes and hits you. So now how do you become more aware of it? If you are into business stuff and all that, if you are into like business and self-growth, you must have heard this concept of clarity. You need to have clarity in what you're doing. You need to have clarity as to why something is like working, why something is not working, right? And this clarity is what? Is just becoming conscious, becoming aware of this duality, that you are playing this duality game, that you're playing this attachment game, right? And the way to eliminate this, the way you can solve this is by letting go. And what I mean by letting go is by letting be. You are driving on a highway in this Ferrari. Some bad thing happens, a bird hits your windshield, whatever. You get into an accident. You are safe, but your Ferrari is wrecked. Okay? Letting go does not mean coming out of the Ferrari and saying, no problem. I'm rich. I will get a new Ferrari. No problem. That is not letting go. Letting go or letting be means that you exit the Ferrari, and when you buy a new Ferrari, you're still okay with the same thing happening to that new Ferrari. That is called letting go. That is when you leave the attachment to the situation. That is what it looks like. When you're okay with the next Ferrari that you buy, and even you're okay with even that crashing, that is letting go. Letting go is not, oh my God, this one Ferrari like crashed. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm like, buy a new one. This is just this Ferrari. I'm rich. Stuff like that. No. Letting go means being okay with all of your cars crashing the same way at the same high road. Always. That is called letting go. That is the idea of letting be. The idea of letting be is not to ignore the negative, right? Is to be okay with the negative. So that now when you're okay in this balance point, you have a choice. You have this opportunity, you have the ability to make the choice between the positive or negative. it doesn't mean that you're trying to make this negativity go away. The negativity will be there, but because you're okay with it, because you have let go of not wanting this negativity to go away, is because now you have a choice. Now you have a choice to either choose between positive or negative, and you can choose positive. But if you say this negative stuff does not exist, right? I'm choosing to ignore all this negative stuff. That is not what letting go is. Letting go means being okay with the negative stuff and the positive stuff. Being okay with both sides of the duality. Because when you're okay with both sides of the duality, that creates balance, and in that balance you'll find this ability to choose whichever side you want to go in without any attachment, and that increases the sense of self, right? Whenever you dissolve a duality, now your sense of self, your self-love increases, not just to encompass one side of the duality, but to encompass both sides of the duality, such that you love both sides big heart, right? This is increasing the sense of self. So the lesson in this concept, the concept of love, that we are a being of conditional love, and our entire goal here is to love ourselves first, self-love first, and increase that sense of self. Okay, it is not loving someone else, it is loving yourself. It's just that you're increasing your sense of self such that it encompasses other people too. So the idea here, your first goal is to love yourself, right? Get yourself conquered, and then increase your sense of self. Okay, oh my god, so hard to draw, but increase your sense of self such that it brings in other people too. That is what they call this concept growing and giving. First, you love yourself first. That is the growing part. Once you learned how to love yourself, it's time to expand your sense of self such that more things, more human beings, more systems are coming to you, and they become a part of you, or you become a part of them, such that when you see the other person, you don't see the other person, but you see yourself. You see yourself in them, because that's what's really happening. Okay, that is the takeaway of this concept, the concept of love. Concept number 5, life is meaningless. Now, most people think this is a bad thing. Most people go cynical, Rick and Morty on this, where, oh my god, life is meaningless, there's no purpose here, my existence is useless, I'm just a drifting dust in this cosmos, this universe, just floating around without any purpose, without any meaning. No. Life being meaningless is one of the biggest gifts that we got here, because what that implies is that life by itself is very neutral. So you can choose any side you want. You can create the purpose you want. You can create the meaning that you want to create. That is what life being meaningless implies. Because life by itself is meaningless, you can make it meaningful in any way possible. You can give it meaning in any way possible. And understanding this concept is very, very important. Life by itself is pretty neutral, but it just has a slight swing over to the love side. That is why everything is like going towards growing, giving, expanding of love. That is what everything is slightly nudging to. That is why in English we have this notion of falling in love, because that's what it feels like. You fall in love. You never get into love. It's like you fall into it, right? You're helplessly falling into it. That is why the above concept of letting go is so important, because when you let go, you naturally will, because when you identify that attachment and identify that duality and let go of it, you would naturally fall into the love side. You would naturally swing towards, growing and giving, in loving yourself first and increasing that sense of self. It will naturally happen. But for that, you need to let go of any attachments. So the biggest takeaway in concept number 5 is because life is meaningless. We can give it meaning, any meaning we want, and create the life that we want to live, because that's what it finally implies. You can live any life you want because because life by itself is meaningless. We have the opportunity to impart the meaning that we want to impart, explore the side of reality that we want to explore. That is the freedom that this law provides us. Concept number 6, law of attraction. Now let's break law of attraction down in a way that you have never seen anywhere before. What is law of attraction and how does that work? The entire premise, the law that runs this law of attraction is that whatever you put out is what you get back. This is a very familiar concept in physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Whatever you put out, that is what you'll get back. Okay? That is what this entire law of attraction is about. Whatever you put out is what you get back. The DJ will be playing music and no one will be dancing the dance floor. Then one guy will come on the dance floor and start dancing. Seeing that one guy, another guy comes and dances. Seeing the other guy, another guy comes and dances. Slowly, everyone in the club starts dancing the dance floor. But remember, it started with one guy. So the mechanism of law of attraction is something called feedback loops. Okay? Have you ever been to an auditorium and when the person brings one mic close to another mic, the sound goes into that microphone, then comes into this microphone a little bit louder, then goes into that microphone a little bit more louder, and slowly that creates this very screeching noise, like something like that, right? That is like a feedback loop. When this thing is going to another mic, becoming a little bit bigger, going here, a little bit becoming more bigger, going here, more bigger, and you hear the screeching noise in the auditorium. Have you ever done that? And the guy like pulls the microphone away like this, right? That is a feedback loop. And remember all my previous concept before, that life being meaningless, that gives you the opportunity to choose a duality, and choosing that duality is just a very, very confined attachment towards one side of the duality. All that stuff, all that combined is what you believe. And whatever you believe, you will see outside. Law number 1, concept number 1, whatever you believe, you see outside in reality. Okay? So you start out with having a belief that is given by somebody, your culture, your system, your parents, your grandfather, the guy in the neighborhood that said, don't come to my lawn or something. Some person first kept the seed of belief, okay? And you started seeing what you believe in the reality. Why? Because, hey, reality has everything. So whatever you believe, you will see it. No matter what you believe. You believe good, you will see good. You will believe bad, you will see bad. And now whatever you believe, you will see in reality. And whatever you see in reality will reinforce this belief more strongly. Oh, whatever I'm believing, I am seeing. Oh, whatever I'm believing, I am seeing outside. That means this is true. That creates a more stronger reality, and then that reinforces the belief even more. That creates an even stronger reality. And you see how this feedback loop just goes like that. That is a feedback loop. Okay, and this is what's happening to us. We are right now, you and me are living some sort of feedback loop. Not one, multiple different feedback loops running together, running parallelly. We have multiple different feedback loops running parallelly, okay? And all this started only because some person in your childhood put the seed in your mind of what reality should be, and you saw that reality outside. It reinforced, the seed grew into a plant, and now it feels like, okay, where did this reality come from? You see, there are two sorts of feedback loop. One is positive, 2 is negative. Notice the mechanism is the same. There is a belief that is creating a reality, that is reinforcing the belief, creating a new reality, reinforcing the merged belief, stuff like this. Reality by itself is neutral. It is our preference what makes it positive or negative. You see this feedback loop running in our MBTI community, where they first interacted with some sort of IP, and then they saw, oh my god, this IP was bad. Boom. And they look in the reality, they'll find out one more IP. Who is bad, right? Because they believe something, they see that in reality. And he'll unconsciously have this belief that, oh my god, all IPs are bad. INFP, bad type. Get out of here, So this belief reinforces the reality, and you'll start seeing more of that. This reality reinforces the belief, this belief reinforces the reality, and the feedback loop continues. Now, this is a negative feedback loop. The entire concept of law of attraction is to escape this negative feedback loop and plant the seed of positive feedback loop. And the driving force behind any feedback loop is this magical word called momentum. Momentum, that's what creates the snowballing effect. Take a small snowball, roll it down the hill. As it rolls down, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So let's say you're believing a negative belief system, and once you start believing the positive one, you're not going to see the results, because this ball has to first of all stop and then slowly roll on that side and then gain momentum that way. That is why anytime you noticed you try to lose weight but you didn't see the results and you quit, or you try to do something and didn't see the results and you quit, because there wasn't enough momentum to actually make that belief a reality. Because your other feedback loop, your counterpart feedback loop, the negative feedback loop, was so strong that you tried for a few days, you saw that this loop is not stopping, and you just quit. And even right now, you're trying to search for this magical solution that will just stop this feedback loop and make it go this way full speed. It's not going to happen, right? Anything needs momentum. Now let's talk about two biases in our brain that is inbuilt, that creates this entire mechanism and supports it and amplifies it even more. Okay, the two biases that we experience, the first one is synchronicity, the second one is confirmation bias. Now, what is synchronicity? Synchronicity basically says, let's say you're playing with your kids and you see some other event which is not related to the current event that you're doing, but you feel like there is a correlation. Let's say you are doing some work and you see 11:11. That is synchronicity, because you seeing 11:11 and you doing your work has no correlation, but you assume that there is a relation between that number and the work you're doing. Or you're playing with your kids, you see 11:11 and you subconsciously think, okay, every time I see 11:11, good things happen. What synchronicity means, like Carl Jung said, is meaningful coincidences. It is a coincidence, but a very meaningful one. That is synchronicity. Confirmation bias, when you're judging the present situation based on your past belief, based on your past experiences, that is confirmation bias. Let's say you're an EJ, or let's say you're some ENTP, some other YouTuber saying that, oh my god, all the INFPs, bad type, right? And every time they meet a new INFP, they automatically categorize them as boom, bad, right? Grow up, something like that, right? Why is that? They are fallen victim to confirmation bias. They are judging the present situation based on the past experience. What helps you create this momentum are these two laws. Because once you start planting the seed and once you start taking action on it. So to give a sensory example on how to use feedback loops, let's take the feedback loop of making money, okay, or spreading joy. How do you make it? In Christianity, they said it is in giving that you receive, right? But it is not any sort of giving and then expecting somewhere back of your mind. I'm not talking about that giving. Giving unconditionally, because you're having an overflowing bucket. Giving in that place, unconditionally, without any conditions. Oh, now that I gave you, you owe me something. No. Unconditionally. Give something to someone unconditionally without expecting anything back, just because you can. That is a positive feedback loop that will automatically help you with human relationships, even making more money. So this belief, it's in giving that you receive. It's in giving unconditionally without expecting any outcome that you receive. That is a belief. That is a seed I planted here. And you start acting as if, act the seed. Start acting from this belief, okay? whenever you act on this belief, you start creating momentum. Initially, you won't see anything, but as you keep reenacting the belief, as you keep acting out the belief, you will start seeing signs in reality. Oh my god, this belief is actually true. Why is that? It is because of synchronicity and confirmation bias. Because once you like plant the seed and you create that momentum, you cannot help but see the results of your actions. So the biggest takeaway of any law of attraction is this: you are living some feedback loop right now. Some of them are living positive feedback loop, great. Some of them are living negative feedback loop. Don't worry, we can change it. And the way you change it is by putting a new belief, planting a new seed, and then acting out that seed. Act as if you are believing that. Okay, don't act your previous belief system. Act as if you are this kind of person. And slowly, when you're acting out like this, you start seeing signs in reality that you are that kind of person. You get feedback from this reality, and then that reinforces this belief. And the more you act, the more this belief gets reinforced. The more you act, the more this belief gets reinforced. The more you act, the more your belief gets reinforced. And slowly, your goal is not to change the previous belief system. Your goal is to create a new belief system that will replace the old belief system. Okay, that is our goal here. So you have whatever belief system you have right now, let it be. Our goal here is to create a new one so that it can replace the old one. We are not going to change the old one. We are going to create a new one and replace the old one. Beliefs. So you create a belief, reality, belief, reality, belief, reality. The belief creates the reality reinforces the belief. So this loop goes down. Now a quick to do and not to do. If you are someone who's into law of attraction and watched other people's videos and stuff like that, they say go look in the front of mirror, say I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I have a big house, I have a big house, I have a big house. But no matter how much you do that, you're not going to get it. Okay. Oh, go wake up in the morning, visualize. Entire day just spend visualizing, oh my god, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm pretty, I'm fair. Something like this is not going to work. Those exercises are meant to create a spark so that when you first plant the seed, this spark will help you create the momentum. Okay. That's all it is. It's just a spark. Once you spark it, your goal is to ignite and have a flame. Okay, the spark by itself is not fire. You have to spark the wood and blow lots of air into the wood, and the wood starts burning, right? Starts igniting. That fire is what creates this reality that you're living, right? Your goal is to create the fire, and all these exercises, looking in the mirror and saying, oh my god, I'm rich, oh my god, I'm smart, oh my god, I'm pretty, I'm smart. No. If you're doing that in the mirror and if it helps you take action, then it's useful. But if you're just doing that for the entire day, hey, stop doing that. Find something else that might not be your permission slip. The only reason all affirmations, visualization, everything is happening is to ignite that spark in your soul so that it starts burning up and you actually start taking action. The law because of which law of attraction is working is what you put out is what you get back. Whatever you are acting out in the world, that is what you're going to get back. Okay. This is concept number 6, law of attraction. This is by far my favorite concept. Now moving on to the last law number 7, a secret law that I haven't mentioned in the video beginning. Law number 7 is the law of paradoxes. Change happens in the place of paradox. Okay. And this is a very tough concept to explain. So let me just give you 2 examples and hopefully you understand the concept by then. Let's say you want a girlfriend. Okay. But if you act out as if you want the girlfriend, you're not going to get any girls, right? No one is going to come to you because you're acting needy. So for you to get a girlfriend, you need to be in a place where you don't need a girlfriend. So if you're in a place where you don't need a girlfriend, you will get a girlfriend. But if you're in a place where you don't need a girlfriend, you wouldn't actually need a girlfriend. but it is in that place where you actually get a girlfriend. So for you to get a girlfriend, you should be in a place where you don't need a girlfriend, and then you'll get the girlfriend. See, this is a paradox, but it is in this paradox that you'll find truth. Okay, and many aspects of life lies in such paradox. Another one is making money. Okay, most people, they come out saying that, oh, you know what, you pay me first and then I will like give the product and then we'll like start making money. No, that's not how it works. If you really want to make money, be of service to others in a very helpful way, but don't be hesitant and not ask for money. Know your worth, but you need to be helping other people in a way that adds value in their life. And once you act in a way where you don't need the money and you're acting in the place of, I already have enough money, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm doing this to you just because I can. When you're in that place, people want to do business with you. They want to give you more money because in your place of non-neediness, right? Because you don't want money, people want to give you more money because you don't actually want money. That means that in their mind, you're not going to screw them over. So for you to make money, you should be content with whatever you have right now, no matter how poor you are, and then start being service to others. And in that process, you'll start making money. People will start giving you money. But it is in center of such paradoxes that the reality, that the truth exists, that the real change exists. So now that we understood all these 7 concepts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and when you like bridge them, and when you like see, and when you fit them together, okay, we will see the big picture. So here is the big picture concept, my theory of everything, that should hopefully help you identify whatever problem you have, solve it, and move on to the next problem, solve it, move on to the next problem, solve it, etc. If you watched this far, I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. So here's my theory of everything. All human experiences are just a product of various feedback loops, which is created by your definition of what reality should be like. And most of this definition is created due to attachment, due to love, because you loved a very, very conditional aspect of reality. And our goal here is to love ourselves first, change the definition, replace the definitions in such a way that we can love ourselves first and replace the definitions even more, so that we can increase our sense of self, so that it could include other people, systems, everything, right? And this is theory of everything. So what is reality? Reality is unconditional love. We are a species of conditional love, and our entire hero's journey is just being in a very conditional state and increasing the sense of love. This is what you keep seeing in all the movies. All that a hero is doing, he's in this place of fear. What is fear? Fear is the absence of love. Hero is in this place of fear and he goes through this journey to find more of himself. And what is that journey about? It's about him learning to love the stuff he couldn't love before. The journey is about him expanding the sense of self to include someone else. The journey is about not being able to see the difference between good and bad. They look so similar that you stop seeing the distinction. So there is no bad anymore. You see only good. You see only good everywhere. The hero's journey is about increasing the sense of self. Reality by itself is unconditional love, is that we are just a species of conditional love and learning to increase our sense of self. And all this is because of the feedback loops, the definition that creates the feedback loop doing its own thing, forcing us to see certain aspects of reality, dialing in on certain aspects of reality. And how did this all start? Because we loved a very, very conditional aspect of reality. That's it. Reality by itself is unconditional love, but we loved a very, very certain aspect of reality, which is why we are experiencing what we are experiencing. So the increase in sense of self is achieved by letting go of your attachment so that you can fall fall towards the balanced center, right? When you let go of attachment, we fall towards the middle, and that will allow us to stop the feedback loops, replace it with more loving ones, replace it with more positive ones, and create more positive definitions such that the reality is more truer to itself. Remember concept number one, reality is just a projection of yourself, so that you're living more truly to your vibration. That's what everything is about. And as to my problem as EP, I was scared of organizing, I was scared of sensory. I didn't want to do sensory paperwork because I'm an intuition DOM, I have NE and TI. I didn't want to do the SI, I didn't want to do the organizing. But the entire process was me. First step is finding out the definitions that I was believing, noticing the feeling, the fear, so that when you notice the feeling or fear, this is step number one, is noticing. When you notice your feeling of fear, you're automatically creating a distance between your thoughts and your actions. Before you would be like, oh my god, I want chocolate. You just go eat chocolate. But now when the thought comes, oh my god, I want chocolate, and you pause for a couple of seconds and then go and eat chocolate, you're creating this gap between your thought and your action. And it is in this gap that you have a choice to choose the one that you want to be in. This is what decreases the momentum of your existing feedback loops, because you're creating a gap. In this gap is where you plant the seed which grows, the seed which picks up momentum and grows into a different plant, replacing the negative feedback loops. Step number one, noticing the fear. Step number two is identifying the duality I'm living in. Okay. This is where MBTI comes in. Once you understand what your type is, really what your type is, not some woo-woo system that some guy created, real stuff. Like I personally highly recommend Objective Personality System because it is based on dualities. Me personally, but even if you are like an MBTI character, doesn't matter. If you're extroverted, you know you're not introverted. If you're introverted, you know you're not as extroverted as you're supposed to be. If you're thinking DOM, you know you're not feeling. If you're feeling DOM, you know you're not thinking. If you're an intuition DOM like me, you know you're not paying attention to the sensory details. And if you're like sensor, you're not paying attention to this kind of stuff. I know that I hate organizing. I understood that I am not able to see the sensory details. And once I see that, my mind, that feedback loop automatically puts the thought and I do the action. But because of that noticing part, I'm able to like separate the thought and action. And now I have a breathing room of what to do. Even step number one, right? If you just do step number one, focus on that feeling. Focus on the point of highest intensity. Focus on the feeling where it is the highest intensity, and just keep noticing the eye of the storm. Okay? Whatever you're feeling, there will be one point of highest intensity. It will keep going up, spreading, breaking. Sometimes it'll expand, sometimes the intensity will decrease, sometimes the intensity will increase. If you just do step number one, that fear, that problem will just go away. Try it, just noticing the eye of the storm. But to make it more effective, to give you that motivation of why we are doing what we are doing, step number two, you know where to focus the eye of the storm and where to like observe in reality. Step number two is to become aware of the duality that you're living in. Okay, is to be aware of, okay, where am I missing? That was step number two, duality. Step number three, my final step, and with this step it concludes the video, and that is to visualize. And this is not your mommy's visualization where you look in the mirror and just dream that you're rich, dream that you're rich, dream that you're rich. No, this step number three is visualization on steroids. Okay, and the way this works is you have to understand hero's journey. There is a structure called a hero's journey. Okay, if you don't know what a hero's journey is, let me just give a quick intro of the journey of a hero in any character, any myth. There's a book by Joseph Campbell called Hero's Journey, Heroes with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. It's a good book to read. basically the hero's journey is, there's this innocent, naive guy who's afraid of something, okay? And there is some part of the reality that he's resisting. He doesn't want to do what he's doing. But then he gets called to adventure, okay? Some guy, something, girlfriend leaves him, something, job comes, coronavirus hit, something forces him to go to that journey. That is his call to action that he cannot ignore. So he goes to the call of action, right? After getting the call of action, he'll meet his mentor, where the mentor will tell him, okay, here's where you're lacking. And once the person meets his mentor and knows where he's lacking and all that stuff, he goes through trials and tribulations, okay? That means that life hits him and pushes him to rock bottom. He rises up. Again, life hits him with trials and tribulation. He rises up. Again, life hits him with trials and tribulations. He rises up. And once he defeats the dragon, he doesn't come out. The hero doesn't get what he wants. He gets what he needs. And that is the elixir that the hero will come back to the village and give back to you. Okay. So right now, you are living your own story. Okay. So this visualization is all about you having clarity on what your story is supposed to be, and then mapping it out. Okay, this is my entire story. Where am I in this journey? What most people do, they just visualize the end part where the hero is coming with the villager, slaying with the dragon's head. Most people only visualize that part. They visualize the part of having a lot of girlfriends. They visualize the part of being rich. But your goal here is to visualize the entire hero's journey and have that running, so that, you know, even if someone wakes you up from middle of the night and asks you what's your story, you should be able to say your complete story. And what this allows you to do, it allows you to build momentum, because building momentum is hard, especially when you have feedback loops that's running for 20 years. Building momentum is hard. But when life beats you and when you're down, you know, oh my God, I'm in the stage of trials and tribulations. So this is the part where the hero comes up. This is the part where the hero says no to the chocolate and starts working out. This is where I am. So when you visualize that, when you visualize, oh, this is the part of my story where I come out of the feedback loop. When you visualize that, you actually come out of the feedback loop. The human mind is, whenever you're listening to someone else's story, your human mind naturally puts yourself in the other guy's shoes. We are naturally tuned that way. But if you are living your own story, if you are hearing your own story, you are living someone else's life, but someone else's life is you. So the new story will replace your current story. Remember, change is not about changing your current story, it is about replacing it, right? So when you visualize your entire hero's journey, you're replacing your new hero's journey with your current hero's journey, and you'll start living that hero's journey. The more you live your hero's journey, the more that hero's journey will become your reality. Okay, so this is really a big picture, and visualizing which part, actually say, oh, here's the part where I meet the mentor. Oh, here's the part where here's a part of trials and tribulations. Oh, here's a part where I get out of the trials and tribulations. Oh, here's the part where I don't get what I want, but I get what I need. You know, when you label that in your reality, you will have more clarity. And once you have more clarity, that will help you build momentum. Plant that seed, water it, nurture it, and it will grow. And this should help you with your fear. Now, using step 1 and 2, I know what my problem is. Now, to solve my problem as an EP, I have to start organizing, and I have to start visualizing. I start visualizing, okay, Prem, here's the point where I actually organize my information and come out the other end with, organizing. This is the part of my story where I actually organize. This is the part of the story where I break the circle, break the loop. And when I visualize that, that gives me that spark, that gives me that momentum to do what I want to do. Okay. So these are the 3 sensor steps. Step number 1, notice your feeling, and that creates a distance between your thoughts, your actions, your feelings and your actions. It creates a distance. Step number 2 is to identify your duality. This is where MBTI really comes into play. MBTI, OPS really does an amazing job on this, knowing where you are lacking, right? Step number 3 is to visualize your entire hero's journey and have clarity on what your hero's journey is and what is going to look like, so that this is what you're going to use to replace your current hero's journey. Whatever this is, you're going to replace that with the one that you want to live. And because of all the past concepts, you'll be able to change your reality. Now, some do's and don'ts. Whenever you are stuck, whenever you're stuck in life, ask yourself, what definition am I believing in? What definition am I believing in? What side of duality am I believing in that is creating this feedback loop? What is it? And when you become aware of the definition itself, right, that feedback loop disappears. When you become aware of the definition, you can stop choosing that definition. And once you can stop choosing that definition, that is where you can plant the seed, and you don't even have to create momentum. That momentum just builds very, very, very fast because of synchronicity and confirmation bias. It's almost instantaneous. But if you want to choose it to be slow, steady, you can choose it to be any way possible. But the key here is in trying to analyze, what definition am I believing in that is causing me to experience this reality? What aspect of duality that I'm leaning over that is causing this reality? And another question that you can ask yourself is, why am I still choosing this? I know I'm not supposed to eat chocolate, but why am I still choosing to eat chocolate? Because whenever you're choosing something, your unconscious believes that there is some reward to it, or else you wouldn't choose it. As a human being, our goal here is to move towards pleasure and go away from pain. That's all human beings are doing. Go towards pleasure and go away from pain. And if you are doing something that is destructive in your life, then that means that you're believing something, you have definitions that your unconscious believes that, this definition is helping me move towards pleasure and go away from pain. So you know that. Like people say, I don't know what no. You know that definition. Go to the mirror and ask, why am I still choosing this if I know this? Because try to find, what is my unconscious finding it pleasurable? What am I avoiding? Because I'm going away from pain, going towards pleasure. What am I trying to avoid, right? Another tip is, face fear head on. Another do is to watch a lot of motivational videos that will help you brainwash yourself into living the reality and experience the reality that you want to experience. Again, motivational videos are just a spark. You can't sit in your house every day just listening to motivational videos. It is all about creating the spark so that you can build that fire up, and your goal is to have that fire, not the spark. A last to do in this entire video is to act like it. Now, if you understand the feedback loop and all that stuff, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. The only reason you're not feeling this seed to be real is because you are not seeing evidence in the reality. Oh my god, everyone's calling me fat, I must be fat, right? No, it's not like that. It's all about planting that seed and then acting as if you're a thin guy. What do I mean? What does a fit person do? He goes to gym, right? Act like a fit person, and slowly reality will show you evidence of you being a fit person because of law of attraction, synchronicity, all that stuff, feedback loop. And slowly that will replace your reality. Whatever reality you are having right now, that would replace your current reality. Another big question that I had is, Prem, I'm afraid of something. Now, what do I do with it? Now, how do I change this fear? Now, how do I make this fear go away, right? This is my last tip. How do I make my fear go away? This is the thing about fear. Because of feedback loops, whatever you fear, that would be your reality. And that reality will reinforce your fear, and you'll get more fear. And this more fear will reinforce your reality, which will create more fear. And this is just a downward spiral. So what do you do here? So your goal is not to change the fear, but your goal is to replace the fear with something more loving. You don't try to change what it is, because once you try to change the fear, you're still trapped in the Once you try changing fear, you're still trapped in the feedback loop of fear. So for you to escape that feedback loop, going meta, recognize that you cannot do anything about it. Fear is fear on itself. What is fear? Absence of love. Fear is going to be fear. Your goal is to have a new system and replace your current system. That's it. So you don't really have to deal with your fear. You have to like find things that you can replace it with. Okay, and replacing it is the key. When you know you're afraid of something, you need to stop choosing it. Why do I have to stop choosing it? Because it's not giving you the reality that you want to experience. Choose the one that is more loving. Plant the seed there, and trust me, that part of the place will blossom. So this concludes my video. This is my theory of everything. We are all, reality is unconditional love, and we are beings of conditional love. And the way we can escape this conditional love and increase our sense of self, right? First, we need to love ourselves, then increase our sense of self, is by recognizing the definitions that we are believing and recognizing what feedback loops it's triggering, and then creating this void, planting the seed there, making it blossom, and boom, you're living another reality. You might as well be living in another parallel reality. You might as well be living a reality that might be true. That's it, guys. Comment down below what you think of my theory of everything. I would love to know what you guys think. Subscribe, share. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.